Good evening, and welcome to our evening show, and that is the LuvSA show, which is a very important show in my life and in my heart, because I feel it represents the feelings and the aspirations of many as South Africans. I must say, it is very much important for us to understand when we talk about LuvSA and the Nehemiah's phenomenon, we are trying to look at what kind of a South Africa are we building? What kind of a South Africa are we going to leave for our children and our children's children? Because we sit here today, this South Africa that we have had fathers, we've had mothers, we've had people who really laid down their lives to build the South Africa that we have inherited today. But at the very same time, and looking at what is happening on a daily basis in our news, in our news screens, our radios, our social media, it's very much concerning. There is a high level of self-hate. Hating of self is seen when one begins to destroy everything around them. It might be nature, it might be whatever thing, you know. We come from a background, of course, as a young boy who would be looking after cattle. You know, you see a spider or you see a lizard right there in the bush, we're running after it, want to kill it for reasons that are just known to us because it's not disturbing us in any way. But what we are talking about today in South Africa, not only South Africa, but the continent at large, is a level of destruction, a high level of destruction. I must be honest, we can put names on it. We can say it's because of poverty, it's because of joblessness, and many other things. But how do we explain a situation where I'm driving my car, I'm driving my SUV, and the next thing I find a truck that is capsized, and I start looting on the whatever goods that truck is carrying? Is it poverty? Unless if it is poverty of the mind. But these are some of the things that we are seeing today. One other thing that is very concerning, yes, we need service delivery at all costs. This is why we have a government that must service us with all what it promised, not only promised, but that which are basic needs for us as the citizens of the country. But if we are having our service delivery protests, and the next thing, we go and dig on a tar road and dig it up and leave a very big ditch in the tar road. Who exactly uses that tar road? Are we not the ones using the very same road? Are we not the ones who will suffer tomorrow? Are we not trying to cry for service delivery in this particular field while we're destroying every other thing? But what I'm trying to say is, South Africans, let us have self-love. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that says, if I cannot love myself, then it's hard for me to love others. And that is why the program LuvSA, it's not just LuvSA, but it's Love Africa. And this evening, I'm so glad because I have my co-host, and that is Dr. MABILA, and our wonderful guest, and that is Reverend KUBAYI, Robert KUBAYI. You know, Rev KUBAYI, I love him, and I love what the names that he received, you know, growing up and at birth, because, you know, he's born and he was born at Akambokota, and that is why the KUBAYIs Akambokota, they are my family, and we'll talk after the show. And his father named him Boyson, which was saying my boy, my son. And then his mother named him Bafana Mamin. And his grandmother named him Komisani. And his sister named him Robert. And, you know, I think he was very generous. You know, he was very generous. And everybody wanted to have a piece of him, and they named him all these names. But, you know, he's popularly known as Dr. K. And we just appreciate this man of God, this reverend, because he is also a reverend in the Evangelical Presbyterian Church. And we're going to hear more about him today. But the reason we are having him as our guest is because he's also a well-traveled men. And what I love is one of these trips to one of the African countries, that is Ghana. And Ghana has a history almost like South Africa. We have the Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, and we have the Nelson Mandela of South Africa. And we trust that as we converse on this program, LuvSA, we're going to really have something that is going to help us also looking at our counterparts, looking at Ghana, looking at South Africa, looking at some of the lessons we can learn from each other, and some of the dynamics, of course. But without much ado, let me take this time and welcome my co-host before we welcome our guest, and that's Dr. MABILA. Hi, Doc, and welcome. Unmute your mic, Doc.
Thank you, Pastor Strike, and good evening. I am a bit jealous or envious. I thought that you'd also call me Mfundisi.
With you, you've got many titles, and most especially when I'm talking to you, because I can as well call you my mentor, my friend, and all this. But that's true. These are three reverends sitting in this platform, and we just and please, while you are envious, and let me give you the honest. Hey, Mfundis, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Mfundis.
Yes, and what can you say to us as you also talk to the viewers and the listeners of Bold Moves Radio, because we are on Bold Moves Radio, we are on Bold Moves Radio Facebook page, we also on Bold Moves Radio YouTube, and we want to say to all our viewers, you are welcome, and all the peace-loving people of our continent, all South Africans, you're welcome on this program, and let us have a great time. Doc, what would you love to say to our listeners?
I would like to say that I think what we're doing in this program, it's about reconstruction and development of the African continent. I think yes. Our continent has suffered a lot: corruption, famine, underdevelopment, the question of unity. And then now this program is an attempt to bring Africa together. It's an attempt to build what has been broken. And I'm very glad that we have got REV KUBAYI today with us.
Very true. Rev, you're welcome to LuvSA, and good evening to you, Rev. Okay, you can unmute your mic, Rev. Just unmute your mic. Yeah, thank you, Rev. Now you're audible. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening to you and to all your listeners. I'm happy to be with you.
Thank you so very much, Rev. You're welcome. Before we talk about Reverend KUBAYI, just tell us about the names. Hey, these names are, they tell a story. What can you tell us about the names that you were given by dad, mom, and sister?
Yeah, I think I was not planned. I just came by mistake. That's why everyone had an opportunity of naming me. But when I researched what was happening when I was born during the time when mommy had lost a lot of children. So there was a perception that I was also going to die. So when I was born, my father was happy to have his son back, sort of some resurrection, I don't know what they call it. And then mommy was able to have a father coming back. And then my grandmother was saying, "Look, come son, make sure he lives, doesn't die." That's the reason why after a few days, mommy took me out of the village into Gauteng so that I might live. It's just an amazing story that with a surname like KUBAYI, where it says, which means short life is our nature of life. But people were scared that I will not be a KUBAYI when I die. So that's the reason behind those names.
Sure. Yeah, Rev, this is touchy, and it's true of many families. We may look at all those names and laugh, but there is a story behind. You can see that every member of the family, mom, dad, sister, they wanted to have a piece of yourself, fearing that you might go. And just that, KUBAYI, and talking about Okom, it has a history. Because of course these names, surnames, one. What is it that they might have said about the KUBAYIs?
My father said, KUBAYI are people who are not scared of death. Death is our way of life, because when others use fence to fence their yard, our yards are fenced with graves. So that is very common to us. So there was no reason why they should panic when I came.
Yeah. And Rev MABILA, is there something that you want to say? I see your mouth is look no more tabatana or not mark. Shana, you see this
it's a very good. Thanks for the opportunity. Shakespeare, says that what is in the name, what we call a rose will still smell a rose. And I want to ask from Rev KUBAYI, does he actually believe in what Shakespeare says, or is he living, his name or not?
Inkomo host, I don't know if I'm living my name. I'm just this kind of a man with a difficult character. Those who are watching me, perhaps you'll be able to judge for yourself if I've got this many characters that is alleged that I possess. I'm supposed to be a fan, so many boys in one. But I'm thinking one person living a simple life. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Rev, tell us a little bit about yourself. Just give us a little bit of your life, and let's get to know Reverend KUBAYI and know him better.
Okay, thank you very much. As the I was born at a village in Bokota. Today we call it the home of Bafundisi. That village produces more ministers than any village that I know. So I was born there and then moved to Johannesburg, schooled in Shawela in Itekani, raised along with Dr. MABILA MATHEBULA. Then grew up high school at Skanantwana, had a chance to go to university. I went to a few of them, got a few degrees, get a chance to be employed. And then married a wife who met at school while we were still teachers. She came all the way from Northwest. So Kiabua Kimutswana. So thereafter, the marriage was blessed with 5 children, 4 girls and a boy. And then got a job, worked for the central end.
Rev, we're losing you.
Said I had a job and I worked for
Hi, Rev. My Latakela, Rev. Yes, now we can hear you. Yes.
I had a job for a state-owned company, served in the treasury and responsible for pricing the petrol of the country for almost 24 years. Later, this thing, Paul came, troubled me. It came before, in the 80s. I resisted it. I took a course at UNISA to register for a degree in theology. I submitted my first assignment, and the man who happened to mark it was my friend, or someone that we grew up with, who was a professor there, and just wrote on the script, and I said, it's not serious. Then I quit. But that didn't solve the problem. Later in the 2000s, when it started, the call came again. I resisted. Finally, in the late 2000s, the call came. I didn't tell anybody. I just went and enrolled. God helped me. I went through all those degrees with ease, from junior to the senior ones with ease, and then wrote an application to the EPCSA to serve as a minister after having been mentored by great ministers, from Dr. Jawan, Reverend Masango, many others, supervised by Reverend Mashangwani, many ministers that I can mention. Then I served probation as usual, a longer one, I think. And finally, I was ordained and became a reverend. My ministry has been very much amazing because I'm not long in the game, but the growth and the development that have happened to me is amazing. When I went to the first Nzombano, which is an association of ministers, I was appointed head of or chair of convener of doctrinal committee. It's unusual for a new qualified theologian to be appointed in that kind of a chair when there are professors and many other people in the team. And thereafter, I've served the church in many positions. One of them was chairperson of finance and many others. But now I'm serving as a minister in the Western Parish, serving the area of Kagiso and Mohlakeng. And then my main job at the moment, I've been appointed the General Treasurer of the EPCSA, where I'm serving at the head office and doing my best to make sure that the church is stable. This is in short, the Robert KUBAYI that is talking to you.
You know, Rev, while you were sharing with us this journey, now I understand why the many names. Because honestly, you've got a lot, and God has given you the grace to excel in it all. And what I'm interested in again is the call. You know, like you said, you felt the call of God earlier, and you continued doing what you were doing, which you served in different spheres. But let's talk a little bit about a call. You know, many who are not ministers, they even think we when we respond to the call of God, we are lazy to work. We want minyikelo, not knowing that minyikelo is not as big as the things that we might be doing. I'm from construction. I did building as a profession. I'm from construction. I had a construction firm and all that. And one responded to the call of God. And people who do not know about God's call, sometimes they just say, share with us about the importance and even the intenseness of the call that you could not this time around resist it, but had to respond and pursue theology.
Yeah, a call is something that is a terrible thing to happen to anyone, especially if you are resisting like me. It will never give you rest.
Yes.
It will torment you. You wake up in the middle of the night. You might excel in your profession, whatever you do, but something will keep on telling you,
yes,
I want you there.
Yes.
I've been in the banking profession. I excel in that area. That's how I made my living as a professional banker. But that was not enough. That was not enough. I've been in jobs perhaps that I can say took care of me better than ministry would ever take care of me. But when the call came, the monetary rewards did not matter. It was a saying of, let me go and do it. And since I've said yes to this call, I've found peace in my life.
Yes.
I can relax. I think I've been born anew. I feel fresh. I feel strong to do things. You see, the problem with the call, it will trouble you in the sense that arna call your car. Not just you. Let me use call your matros. I love your twas. I'm gonna say I can't famba stratin. I can't bamba tina riesh. Na ina mata kuma so karu famba stratin. O karu imbalati simung arikereki. Panbaza ku cham fundis. You know, people were calling me fundisi, a reverend everywhere when I was not even qualified or trained. And then lastly, I said I could no longer resist.
Yes.
Let me go and do it this time once and for all. And I've done it.
And
if I could chime in.
Yes, Doc.
If I could chime in.
Yes, Doc.
Also, I know Rev KUBAYI, and also being a political activist. But when he accepted the call, there was this transformation, and all of us who knew him, we realized that the man was transformed. Now, the call does not only change you, but it also changes people around you. So that's what I can actually comment about his call, because all of us, from how we knew him and how he had transformed, we realized that there was a transformation.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful, Doc. Yeah. And Rev, let's look at, like we say, LuvSA. The program seeks to maybe call for soberness of mind, call for self-love. As ministers of the gospel, we have a bigger role to play because we have an opportunity to stand before people, be it professionals, be it politicians, be it ordinary people, even our mothers who sell along the street. What would be your message for us as South Africans, having cited a few of things that I feel somehow we've lost our self-love, we've lost love for our country? You have traveled, and we're going to talk about that. You have traveled, and most especially when one travels Africa. I had an opportunity also of traveling most of the African countries, and because that was my desire, that was my hunger to see how my fellow Africans are faring and how their countries are doing. What can you say to us when we talk about let's love this South Africa?
Yeah, let us love this South Africa. Let us start first with the mother, the sister, the aunt that sells in the street. I respect those kind of women because there's dignity in work. They gave me hope. This is the very same thing that I saw when I went to Ghana. Mothers, children, people that would normally have been queuing for a social grant, but trying to make a living for themselves. That kind of a thing I respect wholeheartedly. Incidentally, I was raised by parents like that who had to sell things for a living in order for us to go to school. And I had a great respect for them. I think they're doing an important job, like me as a banker or as a minister or as a politician or as a teacher. That job is equally important because it's a job of faith. Go to the pavement and sit with, example, a bag of keeps or oranges, not knowing how much the turnover will be, and keep on coming day after day and running a family that is a great faith. I respect those people. Thank you.
Very powerful, Rev. And you said something about not queuing for grants, which it's our situation in South Africa, and also expecting government to. It reminds me also working for the SABC sometimes back. Through the station would build a house and hand it over to some destitute family. I remember a story of this old man who was living under a tent shack, and a house was built for him, and a few of the necessities like a bed was. And when he came in, instead of saying thank you, he was complaining. And I thought to myself, look, my father was living under a shack, under a tent for that matter. A decent house has been built, but there's a sense of entitlement to an extent that it blinds him from appreciating what he has received. Dr. MABILA, what can you say about just what Rev said? Because when Rev talks about our mothers selling along the streets, I think it's a story of many of us. I grew up, my mom and dad, bashapsa masango basuka ka bungeni bafamba afuta ingasibaka bungeni basuka ka mashamba baya aka magoro atiani himilenge selling sleeping mats, and then took us to school. So like you said, Rev, these are very important people. I always look at them and say, this is a mother of a young man, a young lady who one day will be a great leader because they are taking their children to school. Sometimes you feel like buying, even if you don't have a need for whatever they are selling, knowing that it is going home, it is going to make a difference. Doc, what can you say about what Rev is saying?
I think from our generations, that's where we come from. You know, like my parent, my father, he was a dry clean agent. You know, he used to act out his existence by running dry clean. I think we are coming from a generation, maybe our parents were hardworking, but something went wrong where we think that the government can do everything for us. You know, in the past, as you know, the communities used to build schools, that they were built by communities. But now the government builds schools and the community goes and destroys the very schools that the government has built. Now something has actually gone wrong. We don't actually take ownership.
That's very concerning and it's very painful. You know, recently in Limpopo how a protest over border or demarcations and border issues and municipality, where to belong and where not to belong, how it went so violent and many schools were burnt down. And these are the schools for our children. These are the school to educate our leaders. And I would love to take this opportunity once more and say to our viewers and to our listeners, thank you so very much for being with us. And we also appreciate your comments. And please, you can send your comments. You can even send your questions if you have something to say to Rev. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you. And I see I've my email saying, proud of you, Mfundisi. You know, some of you here, you know Reverend KUBAYI very well, and it is time also to celebrate him for the role that he's playing in building SA, you know, in making South Africa a better place as a minister of the gospel. And you realize him from his background that he's a man who's been serving in different spheres of life as a banker and all those. And Rev, let us look at your trip to Ghana. And what was the chief end of your trip?
Thank you. The Ghana trip was a funeral trip. I was going to attend a funeral. First, I need to give you a background about this funeral. My sister's daughter is married to our son-in-law who comes from Ghana. So they lost their mother-in-law. She never told me that they lost their mother-in-law. But I happened to pick it up from the children in the house. And like any other uncle, I was very angry with them and said, how can you have a funeral in your home and not tell us? How will that family take us? Immediately, I took all my kids and the Bible. We all drove to Pretoria, where they stay. When we arrived there, we're in the morning gear, like typical South African, when you go and mourn at the place where that has happened. This was at the beginning of the day, just after New Year. So when we arrived there, prayer, everything that we do. Thereafter, my son-in-law, Prof. Becky, they says to me, things don't work the same in Ghana like in South Africa. In Ghana, things are different. A funeral can take up to 2 years. So poor me, South African, I went there even with my 50 rand, we were chabelela to condolences. But now I realize that, oh, we're in trouble. This thing is going to take more than 2 years. It means you must go and get a passport because even our excuses to go to Ghana all falls off. The reason why the Ghanaian people take long is it's about this. Funeral arrangements in Ghana are organized by the community.
Okay.
It has to be reported to the chief, and the families have to be told. The whole clan, the elders and the chiefs of the village are involved in this funeral. They meet and decide as to when will the funeral be. As far as then we're burying on Saturday. There the clan must come and decide. Hence it takes much longer. The announcement of bereavement is usually the right of the chief mourner and the head of the clan. And in Ghana, when someone is late, unlike in South Africa, they advertise, they put a poster like when you do in this election, in the newspaper to announce, so and so is gone. He will be buried. Robert is dead today. He will be buried in December next year. So they put a poster like that. And then the head of the clan usually consult with the family elders, the chief, the church, etc., prior to fixing the funeral date. And then the funeral announcements, the posters and everything, they have to be approved by the chief and before they can be displaced. There's also a number of reasons of consultation that goes on, which is a reason why their funerals take long. But what I've learned about Ghana, funeral in Ghana is different from the funeral in South Africa. Funeral in Ghana, it's a wedding. Okay. It's like a wedding. It's extravagant. They go all out to show love and respect for the deceased. One thing I've also learned about the culture of funeral in Ghana, the Ghanaian peoples have embraced death. I was with one of the moderators of the church. I asked him, why do you Ghana's people carry a person, take a person out of a coffin and put him on a bed and all those kind of things? Why are you doing that? He says, you South Africans are scared of death. We have come to embrace death and we understand death. Aren't you a priest? I said, yes, I am. Don't you believe in life after death? I said, yes, I do. Now, what are you scared of? Then I just kept quiet. I realized that we do things differently. And on that funeral, the whole community is involved. The chief, the church, the police, everyone, they've got their role to play. It's like it's a state prison funeral. And everyone seems to be comfortable and seem to know what to do, what part to play in that funeral. Like any South African, when I went to Ghana, my first thing I told them before I left here that I'm going to Ghana to learn and to dress and speak like a Ghanaian. I've learned a few words in Ghana. The first one I learned was to say thank you.
Okay.
Akpe.
Akpe.
The other one was, yes, Akpe. And then, and many other words. Now, the other name which I learned, which was a problem to me, is a name they call a reverend. In Ghana, they don't call you reverend. They call you Osofo. Osofo. Osofo, come here. Osofo, come here. Now people, Osofo. Then the other chief says, no, Osofo is a name of reverend in Ghana. It means Mfundisi. Now, when they say Osofo KUBAYI, now I call myself Osofo KUBAYI now. No longer Robert KUBAYI, I'm Osofo KUBAYI because this caused me a lot of problems in Ghana. So that's when I went to Ghana.
Thank you, Osofo.
Thank you.
Wow, it's so interesting to hear how Africa expresses herself, more especially when we talk about how we do things. And in South Africa, I remember when my grandfather, the father to my dad, when he passed on, I was young. I think I was 12, 13 or so. I did not even attend the funeral. In fact, I remember sitting at Akumbin and crying because my granddad is late, and as a child, I cannot even go there. So, Doc, what do you collect from Osofo KUBAYI?
Well, I'm really impressed about the funeral issue, as well as how they've actually embraced Christianity, because I mean, Christianity says we need to accept that. And I think the Ghanaians, the way they're doing things, they've actually embraced Christianity in totality. But my question will be, how was the REV or Osofo received by the Ghanaians? And I also assume that he visited the Kwame Nkrumah statue. And then if he did, how did he feel to be before the statue of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Thank you very much. I was well received in Ghana. I was treated like a royalty. I think perhaps my church title also helped me, because the church that the deceased attended is called Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana. And I come from Evangelical Presbyterian Church, South Africa. So we are one church. So I was well received, was dressed like them, marched like them, sang their music in the Ghanaian language, and even sang in my vernac, Sunde, but the music is the same, only the dialects are different. And they were impressed by the way I tried to read their language. And then from there, we went to visit the memorial place of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It was a moving place. My only worry with that place is that Africa, we don't value our treasure. Treasure. Our past heroes, the place where we kept them, we don't keep it in tight conditions like they'll do overseas. But what was there was the history behind Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Even the shirt that he wore, the scuba that he wore, it's still there. The coffin that he was in is still there. The piano part of this furniture house and the pictures and all the people that he met. That museum is so informative. When I was there, I could see Mandela, I could see Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And I asked myself, no wonder most politicians would always call Kwame Nkrumah. What Mandela has done in South Africa, Kwame Nkrumah has done it in Ghana. And the most sad part is that when you read on the plaques on the stone, is that in 1964-66, there was a military uprising and a coup d'etat and it changed everything. But they love, the Ghanaian people love for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is unmatched. Even the people who sell the merchandise around the museum and the market next to it, they're not only using him as a tool of marketing, but when they speak out, you can see how informed they are about their history. So I was very much impressed when I saw this resting place, the grave, and the grave of his wife, and the 7 men that are watching and blowing the horn, and the musician and everything. And even the car that was donated to the people of Ghana by JFK Kennedy is still there in the museum. It's a moving sight. To those of us who will ever have a chance of visiting Ghana, please don't miss visiting that place. You come there transformed and say, but why did God send men like Kwame Nkrumah, men like Mandela to come and transform and change our lives, and we're refusing to change?
Yeah. You know, it's so moving just to listen, how you relate the love, the welcome, but also the concern about us being able to keep our heritage, being able to protect and to be proud of it. Like we know that Kwame Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana, as Nelson Mandela was the first president of the democratic South Africa. And but when we look at these two countries and look at development, after the founding fathers, if I may put it that way, the Kwame Nkrumah, the Nelson Mandela, what can you say? Are we really taking advantage, or are we leveraging on the great work that they have established, or are we somehow lacking, or like Dr. MABILA will say, it's a reconstruction, it's an RDP project that we're dealing with? Are we really reconstructing? Are we really building, or are we breaking?
And I think the situation in Ghana is the same as in South Africa. We do not have a culture or a history of preserving our heritage. Perhaps we are focused on other things other than knowing that this is what is ours. As a theologian, it hurts me when I see how we respect the history of the Bible, when we go to Israel and show all that respect to those historic sites. But when it comes to our own, they are not well taken care of. The situation in Ghana is not different in South Africa. The museum is not of high quality, to an extent that even our host, when it's in there, says, go and have a look. It's not well looked after, but go anyway. We went there, not with the anyway part, with the part of going to learn. And this is the very same thing that I see here at home when I go to historical site, when I see how the good thing that the founding fathers like the Mandelas, the Tambos built for us, how we destroy the infrastructure, how we let everything run down. The only difference between us and Ghana is that in Ghana, the small shops, plaza shops, are owned by the local people.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Whereas in South Africa, the plaza shops are owned by other people. So the business there, it's a poor country compared to South Africa. But what is amazing, the business and everything, it's in the hands of the people.
Oh, yes.
And if we can learn from that business to take care of our own things. There is a mall and other things which you can see from just looking that these are South African, this is South African money. When you see a mall with places like Checkers, Mr. Price, you can tell that this is South African business.
It's South
but
African
if
money.
our people can be empowered in Ghana to do their own things, then Ghana has got a great potential. And I must mention, Ghana is a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country. Common problems with SA, roads not well maintained, potholes. It seems to be an African problem.
Doc, allow me to just play this clip of a video after what Rev has just said. And when we come back, it's about 14 minutes to 8, where we're closing our show. But I'm interested in this.
Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Trade and Industry.
I can't hear you. I can't hear even Reverend KUBAYI.
The committee is only enforcing 27+1 of the GIPC Act.
We came here today to lock up shops.
Okay, Rev, the doc, what did you say?
Did you hear? No, I'm saying I've got a technical problem. I couldn't hear what you and the Rev are saying. Apparently, communication has been cut off between the three, maybe between you and I.
Okay.
And then I think I'll proceed with the interview because apparently there's a technical problem on my side.
No problem.
Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Prince Boachi, explained the committee is only enforcing Section 27+1 of the GIPC Act.
We came here today to lock up shops. We did not.
To listen to after what Rev has just said, which I think it's very important for us to learn as South Africans and make sure that we're doing something when it comes to owning our own. I think I've got it here. Yes, I've got it here. And there we go.
Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Prince Boachi, explained the committee is only enforcing Section 27+1 of the GIPC Act.
We came here today to lock up shops. We did not come here to inspect legal documents or whatever. We've been here several times. And when we came here earlier on, we asked them to ensure that they have complied with the necessary regulatory requirements. The necessary regulatory requirements we are talking about, one is that the business should have been registered at the Registrar General's Department. We are also saying that if you are a foreigner and you are trading in this country, you must have the necessary residence and work permits to be in this country. There must be proof that you have paid your taxes. If you are a foreigner and you are trading in our market, you should show proof that you have invested at least $1 million in your capital. So if you don't have that, then it means that you are not part of this country. Now there is a ridiculous argument that people are part of ECOWAS. Now, if you are part of ECOWAS, ECOWAS does not mean that you can go into anybody's country and do whatever you like.
In all, close to 100 shops were closed. Joseph Armstrong Gould, Alogbe TV3, Cycle, Accra.
Hi, Rev.
Hello.
with that video clip, you just said even people selling along the streets, the market, there are nationals, which even though Ghana is not the richest country, but I think that is helping people to be able to fend for themselves and to put bread on the table. And I see the efforts by the government itself to make sure that, yes, foreign nationals that come to do business, also they are welcome, but there are regulations that regulate that, and strictly so, and they go all out to enforce them. And if they are not complied to, they close them down. What can you say about this? Because these are some of the challenges maybe that we have as South Africans, where number one, we have our foreign nationals who are not documented, number one. Number two, those that are doing business, in most cases, there's no compliance. You hear complaints that there's no compliance at all. They are not adding anything. And some of the products that are being sold are not healthy. We've seen some being closed down at Malamlele, where which is nearer this side. They had to close down some of these shops which were selling things that were not good for consumption. What can you say? Because as South Africans, sometimes we quickly equate it or attach xenophobia and all that. But we're seeing Ghana making sure that things must be done. Foreign nationals are welcome, but there are regulations that regulates that. What's your take on that, Rev?
Thank you very much. Like I mentioned before, that in Ghana, there's a small shop, what we call a sponsor shop in South Africa. It's owned by the local nationals all the way. I withdraw from Accra to the Volta region, which is a long drive. This is like a drive from ESA to Polokwane. It's a long drive from Johannesburg to Polokwane. It's quite a long drive. But most of those shops along the road, they are owned by the local people. And then to enter into Ghana, it's not easy. Sorry about it. The immigration at the airport, the control, it's very strict. It's not easy. It was not easy for me as a South African to walk into Ghana. They couldn't even believe that I was a reverend. There's control, there's border control. The control is very good. Policing is very serious in Ghana. When on our way back home to the airport, we were stopped more than 3 times by the police on the roadblocks. And the argument was that the lady sitting on the front seat with the driver was light-skinned in complexion.
Oh, yes.
And they could tell that you're not local, you're South African. And then we asked, how did you know that? They said, your face. So police can even tell who's local by looking
just by looking
at the face. Lucky enough, some of the passengers with us were Ghanaian. So they spoke to them in the local language and they would let us go. But there is control and they enforce taxes. Ghana, busy as it is, it's a low crime area.
Oh, yes.
You know, when you come to South Africa with a high crime rate and you go to Ghana and see where people can say you can leave your car with the window open, the car won't vanish. There is crime, yes, but at a very, very low level. You can afford to walk in the street with a cell phone, talking to someone, crossing streets in a busy street in Accra without anyone grabbing your cell phone. So we need to bring order also here at home. Policing must be serious and then encourage people to pay tax like they were doing in Ghana. Those people are just basic business people. They're trading with no whatever, but you would see a license being displayed at a shop.
Oh, yes.
And a proof of tax when you buy those clothes. We went to those shops and bought some clothes and some Ghanaian clothes. There's a tax compliance and everything. Unlike here, people are making money and there's no compliance. And if the government can't force compliance to pay taxes, then the country won't grow. That's what I can say.
Yeah, Rev, that's very true. That's very true. We cannot grow if there are no taxes, if we are not paying taxes, if we are not complying. There's no growth. And like we hear complaints on media every day, you know, people complaining that foreign nationals have taken their businesses, have taken their jobs. And what is concerning is to realize that in all those shops, which are making a lot of money, you can see that there is no taxation at all. These people are not paying tax, and there is no level of seriousness of enforcement of the law. Doc, are you able to hear us now? The way I see you on the screen, you look very fresh, and I can tell you can hear us. You heard what Rev said.
Well, I think sketchily I could actually hear that in Ghana there is the rule of law, and you know the laws are being enforced. In other words, there's a lot of enforcement. That's what I could actually hear from what you actually said.
In fact, what Rev is saying, he says, you know, taxation. In shops, you see the license that this shop is licensed, and they are compliance to tax, you know, which then says whoever is doing business in Ghana, they are paying taxes, which then contribute to the coffers of government, of a nation, which is not so in South Africa. What's your take on that, Doc, as Rev has given us? In fact, we've got a lot to learn from Ghana.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you is each and every business should pay tax. You know, that's something legal. And any government that allows people to operate businesses without paying tax is committing an illegal act. And as South Africans, or maybe as South Africans, I think to start rebuilding this country, businesses should actually pay tax, you know, must contribute to the revenue of the country. But if we allow people to trade without paying tax, we are committing a crime.
You know, one of our contributors here, he says, our biggest challenge is that we want to be seen to be correct, relevant in the eyes of everyone. Leaders must learn to take unpopular decisions. That is what leadership requires. It's a pity we are speaking only to ourselves. You know, I think this is very much important. Unpopular decisions should be taken, most especially if we want to see ourselves growing as a nation. And with the grants that we, you know, I really appreciate our government when it comes to taking care of the poor, of the needy, you know, all those grants. But how do we sustain all this if we have people making money out of the very same country, but not paying taxes, which is very much concerning? And another one, I think, is Dr. Criswell here, who says it is exactly what we call xenophobia when it happens in South Africa. And we don't condone crime and criminal activities and xenophobic attacks on people, but I think leadership is what would calm people, is what would direct people, is what will make people be responsible and work with government if something is happening which is not according to the law. Rev, we are left only with 2 minutes, but I must say our conversation with you, Rev, it's casting a lot of light and also saying to us, as the mighty South Africa, we can learn a lot from Ghana, which its economy is not as strong as ours, but the rule of law, the visibility of police, the seriousness of, you know, when you talk about not even easy for you to enter Ghana, traveling some of the African countries, should do their part. And we as South Africans must do our part, which I think this show is about. Rev, with the 2 minutes that is left, what can you say to us as South Africans, having, you know, you had an opportunity to look at Ghana, to stay there, and South Africa, you know, like the palm of your hand. What is the message that you passing to us all as South Africans when we talk about LuvSA?
I would say, learning from the Ghanaian people, let us learn to be self-sufficient. The Ghanaian people can live from their farm produce. They can live from the things that they sell in the street. But the truth is, they are self-sufficient. Cost of living in Ghana is too high, it's expensive. But those people are trying to live, to be self-sufficient without resorting to crime. We can do all those small works. For example, Ghanaians even mix coffins for themselves on the pavement. They do everything for themselves. Let us learn to do that for ourselves, and this country will grow. Thank you very much.
Also for Rev, also thank for you so much. Also for KUBAYI. Thank you so very much. This is well said, and we cannot appreciate you enough. Rev would love to time and again engage with you, because today in this hour we could just get a little bit, but we know there's a lot that you carry, even from your professional life, your work history, and now as a minister of the gospel. We would really love to contact you in the future and have you contribute. Thank you so very much, Rev, and a blessed night to you. But before we let you go, let me see if Dr. MATHEBULA is able to also say something and also bid our listeners and our viewers goodbye. I like your beard, Doc.
Yeah, thanks, Mfundisi. Although I had a technical problem, I think I would like to collaborate with Reverend KUBAYI and write an article for the Star. As you know that I write for the Star, about Ghana and whatever we have actually discussed today. I think we'll collaborate, and I think so many people will learn from such an article. I thank you for everything.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Doc. And Rev, thank you so very much. Really appreciate to all our viewers and our listeners. Thank you so very much. Thanks also for your contribution. And I see Mr. Dennis Babi, one of our politicians, saying, servant leadership, God bless you. True. We need servant leadership in South Africa also. We need our people to love SA. We need our political leaders. We need our economic leaders. We need our academic leaders, our spiritual leaders to help build this nation with the authority, with the grace that we have. Let us really build South Africa. And I will say, as South Africans, wherever you are, ask yourself a question. By the time I exit South Africa through death, what am I leaving for my children? What am I leaving for my children's children? What is it that, or what kind of a South Africa am I handing over to the next generation? I must be honest with us. It's time to reconstruct. It's time to build so that we are able to leave a better South Africa for our children's children. Remember, the South Africa that we have today is the South Africa that the likes of the late Minister Collins Chabane, whom I have had a privilege of profiling and talking to him while he was still alive, where he crossed the Kruger National Park as a 17-year-old young man, braved the Kruger National Park, going to Mozambique, going to join freedom fighters so that we can have a free and a democratic South Africa. South Africans, are we building or are we breaking? South Africans, are we proud of what we have received? Or are we taking it forward? In all levels of our involvement as political leaders, as spiritual leaders, as business leaders, as economic leaders, as academic leaders, and as an ordinary South African. Are we, when we talk of crime today, which is a very concerning issue in South Africa, is it people coming from mass? Is it people coming from somewhere else? Or how did we contribute to this South Africa? Are we contributors of good, or are we contributors of all the tears that are shed on a daily basis? To our politicians, our leaders, our borders, are our borders just a big gate where everybody walks in, and the next thing we have crisis, and we've got people taking the law into their hands? We have vigilante groups because people are bitter and angry. Or are we reclaiming our borders? Are we reclaiming law and order? And this is LuvSA with me, Pastor Strike, and I'm saying together we can build a better South Africa, but everybody must be involved. Let's stop politicking. Let's stop sloganeering. Let's stop all these other gimmicks and really get to the heart of the matter. And let's stop being diplomatic in dealing with issues. We have seen from our counterparts, Ghana, how they enforce the law. There is another video which I'll show you in the future of a minister going to a construction and stopping them and arresting them for tampering with the main road. And this is what we call loving self and loving our nation. Remember, the history will judge us if we will only maintain the status quo. Corruption is an issue, not only in government circles, but in all our lives. We see corruption in every way. Let us introspect, let us look into ourselves, and let us make a difference. I know we can. LuvSA, love yourself. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. We cannot claim to love. We cannot claim to love the SADC. We cannot claim to love the continent if we cannot love ourselves. And I'm saying to our leaders, let us love ourselves by making sure that South Africans are proud of who they are. They are proud of their infrastructure. They are proud of everything. And let us build South Africa together. Thank you so very much. And a blessed evening. Rev, thank you so very much. You know, Rev, this is very much important for you to give us to give us a prayer as a nation before we release you, because these things we have to work on it both spiritually and leadership.
You are frozen. I don't know if you can hear
Love
me.
of God, our Father. Okay, Rev, you back?
Yes.
Rev, if you could say a prayer for us. Like I was saying, this rebuilding of South Africa, rebuilding of our economy, like the president said, need us all to come together. But of course, the supernatural controls the natural. We need God to help us. Will you please pray for us as we close this program?
Thank you. Let us pray. Izwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi sikelela. Lord, hear our prayers. We bow before your mighty throne and present to you this lovely country that you gave to us, South Africa, this beautiful jewel in the continent of Africa that you've placed in our hands. We pray for our leaders and all that are involved, from the leaders in the families to the leaders in the state, for all of us to take care of this gift that they've given us, so that it must not deteriorate in our hands, but it must stay and be a legacy that will live for the future generation. In the name of Christ our Savior. Amen.
Thank you so very much, Rev. And Dr. Baloyi Criswell says, thank you, Rev. KUBAYI and the other contributors, thank you. And Pastor Joylene also saying, thank you, Reverend KUBAYI. And I see many brethren here appreciating your contribution. Rev, thank you so very much. And a blessed evening to you and regards to the family.
Thank you very much. Please call me Osofo.
Oh, Osofo KUBAYI, Osofo KUBAYI.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you also for KUBAYI. Thank you so very much. Okay, friends, thank you. That's how we wrap up our program tonight. That is LuvSA with Pastor Strike. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you for being on Bold Moves Radio YouTube, Facebook page, and Bold Moves Radio exactly. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate it together. Let's join hands and make a difference. Until we meet next week on this program, it might be LuvSA, the Nehemiah phenomenon, or it might be the conversation. But thank you so very much. A blessed evening to you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Streaming 24/7. 24/7. Bold Moves Radio.
Africa, nakupenda sana. Oh, Africa, nakupenda sana.